Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Axion.
I'm Scint.
And we are winding down towards the end of Final Fantasy V and our discussion of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
Yep, and today we are going to discuss the nature of the Leopards Eating People's Faces party. Also known as, what the heck did you think would happen when you did not fully live up to your psychotic leader's exacting expectations? Because that's the thing. When you enlist in an organization who's built around, I will crush anyone who does not do exactly what I want them to do right now, that includes you. The leopards will eat your face. So we had several characters in the Death Eaters who found this out the hard way. Do you have any thoughts on this before I start going off on one?
Not really. That sums it up pretty easily. Pretty thoroughly, rather. So, yeah. Starting off chronologically, the first rebel we really get here would be Regulus Black, whose family was very proud that he joined the Death Eaters for such a good cause to, cleanse us of all these muggles and everything. But he becomes disillusioned with it and straight up turns on Voldemort to the point where he steals one of the Horcruxes out from under Voldemort's nose. No one notices this for some years. Even Voldemort's not aware of it. So, this... Look, if even your inner circle is starting to realize maybe this isn't a good place to be, you know you don't have a great organization around. The thing is, though, Regulus turned on him because of how he treated Creature. Which seems an odd choice, given everything.
Not if you consider this from a just as bad viewpoint. You see, Creature was Regulus' property. Makes perfect sense then, doesn't it?
Yeah, in a really messed up kind of way.
I did say a just as bad viewpoint. But hey, it got him to turn on Voldemort, so, we at least have that going for us. The next group of this would be the Malfoys, who basically spend 2 books having to deal with this. Because in Book 5, Lucius gets his butt handed to him by a handful of teenagers who stall long enough for the Order of the Phoenix to arrive, which ruins their subterfuge because Voldemort is caught red-handed as, existing. So now they can't hide as completely as they had been. People are onto them. And it's kind of Lucius's fault. So, yep. So the entire family gets put on the top of Voldemort's expendable list, which directly leads into Book 6, when Draco is essentially given an impossible mission. But Narcissa goes behind Voldemort's back and gets Snape to do it for him. Just to spare Draco the pain and ignominy of having disappointed Voldemort directly, and making sure he doesn't actually have to do the thing. Because she correctly assesses this as he's doing this to punish Lucius. But...
Yeah,
but something that has been very consistent throughout the series is a mother's love. Narcissa might be a terrible person, but she's going to do everything in her power to protect her baby, awful though he may be. And this ultimately does work in the hero's favor, because Snape enabled Malfoy to not have to do the thing because of things we discussed in the prior books. Harry is able to take control of the Elder Wand before he even knows what he's done, which puts a stop to Voldemort's plans because he keeps getting sidetracked trying to take full control of the Elder Wand.
He's too busy pursuing his ambitions to focus on the thing that's actually happening right in front of him.
Yep, because if he just gets this one thing, he will be the most powerful wizard in the world, and none can stand before him. Problem is, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But that would then bring us largely to Snape, who has been in an odd position the entire series, though we only got it revealed in like the last couple of books, that Snape has been playing basically Revolver Ocelot. Whose side is he on? He's on his own side that just happens to ultimately coincide with what Dumbledore wants him to do. But he's not happy about it, and he does question the motives quite often. Which, I mean, as we should, Dumbledore, I'm not sure was playing with a fully loaded deck there.
Dumbledore done Dumble.
Yeah,
Head
Dumbledore very much
Dumbledore.
Dumble. But yeah, Snape manages to get himself on everyone's suspicion radar because he had to play the good member of the Order of the Phoenix convincingly enough to throw the Death Eaters off, but he also had to do things that very much made it look to the Order of the Phoenix as though he was still in cahoots with Voldemort. Because Dumbledore needed him to be in this position, and could not tell anyone anything lest it would ruin all of the plans.
As you do.
Dumbledore was really good at putting people in these positions, but at the same time, Snape made himself so unlikable a character that it's kind of hard to feel as bad for him as I'm pretty sure Rowling wants us to by the end of the series.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said a few times already, there's this definite impression that we're supposed to be all, oh, poor Snape, oh, he had it so bad. And we see that final glimpse of everything when he hands over that last bit of memory to Harry. And all I remember thinking, at least in my most recent reread, was, well, that's that, I guess.
See, I've had a thought that makes it kind of worse over the years. The real green light that Gatsby was trying to get to was Avada Kedavra, because that's basically how Snape's acting, obsessing over a romance that was never going to happen. It's been long gone. She's moved on. Like, in the spiritual sense, too, at this rate. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to get to Gatsby at some point, but I'm still sidetracking. But, yeah. So Snape is ultimately executed by Voldemort, not because he failed him. No, Snape has actually been doing a very good job of hiding his tracks. Voldemort never suspected that Snape was secretly not on his side after the murder of Potters. No, he killed Snape because, yes, you defeated Dumbledore, therefore if I kill you, I can take control of the Elder Wand. Which is not actually how it happened, but Voldemort never realizes this until Harry kills him at the end. So, yeah. The Malfoys were being punished simply because they had, you know, failed him for the last time. Snape was on the chopping block just because I think I have a theory, and you're in my way, and I'm going to go test that right now, and I don't care enough about your well-being, Hi Gilgamesh, to spare you over my ambitions. Oh, Gilgamesh, you're silly.
Yeah, but he's here to be awesome. And I need to try and steal from him before he dies.
You cannot hold a birthday candle to the blazing flame of my spirit.
Sweet! I got the armor!
Nice. So that's some, like, Starman energy. Sword of Kings first try.
Yep.
Ferris is gonna kick him very hard somewhere.
I was about to say, I'm so tempted to have Ferris just blow Gilgamesh up. But I want to let the scene play out.
Yeah. And then we have one other figure who we've kind of overlooked because overall they're fairly minor in the series, but, well, they still play a role. They're still on the opposing team, even though the other team doesn't really seem to fully agree with this. Fenrir Greyback.
Oh boy, Fenrir Greyback. And yep, he just blew himself up.
Well, yeah. So Greyback, as we've mentioned in earlier books, is a werewolf who basically works as a hitman to like go after political opponents, hide out near where their kids are, and turn them. Which I'm pretty sure we've mentioned before has all sorts of unfortunate implications that Rowling definitely intended. Good lord.
Yep.
But that's
We'll get
not
into
what we're
that in a
talking about
later
today.
episode.
Oh, we've already talked about it. Remember, we talked about it when Lupin brought him up in an earlier book.
Right, but I mean, anyway, moving on.
Yeah, like that's not important to this one right now. What's important is he is fully on their side, doing what they want him to do, but he's not really welcomed as one of them. He doesn't have a Death Eater tattoo, I believe. Like, he's not allowed, because, well, you're not pure blood enough for us. Like, he's just essentially their rabid attack dog that they let out when they need to. But he's still working with them, even though they treat him like crap. Because there's some modicum of protection from working with the bullies. So yeah, why would you work with the villains when you know the villains are not going to treat you well? Like, when your own ideology that you are signing on to does not protect you in the event that you no longer fit the very narrow definition, what's the motivation? Like, for Snape it was pure spite and revenge, but for everybody else we've listed, they were true believers until things turned on them, and Fenrir never stopped believing. Hold on to that feeling. But by the same token, there is also the need for forgiveness. But is that really something that can be said for everyone? Are some things beyond the pale? What say you?
I mean... Sorry, this is a trickier subject than it may appear at first glance. And... It's a difficult way to answer this. Especially without losing my train of thought while I'm trying to set everything up for the final fight.
Sorry.
It's alright. Yeah, you jumped it on me while I was in the middle of trying to set this up, so I've now lost the context of what you were asking.
Sorry. I was asking, does everyone deserve forgiveness? Or are some things beyond the pale?
Absolutely not. Okay, now that I understand the question a bit better because I'm actually paying attention, no, absolutely not. No one is entitled to forgiveness, for one. Forgiveness is a thing that must be earned in a lot of ways, and if there are certain lines that are crossed, forgiveness can be much harder to acquire for incredibly good reasons. Apparently my HP changed when I moved my jobs around, so I need to go rest again. And sometimes that line is going to be so high that you're never going to cross it. Oh, right.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Like, I do think that there are some things it's like, this is kind of difficult to say coming from the background that I come from, where you're told that,
all things can be forgiven.
Yeah.
Well, to be blunt, look where that's led.
Oh no, I'm aware, and I'm also aware that the institution that taught me this has a vested interest in being forgiven for things that keep happening, but we're not talking about that today. But yeah, I do think that some things violate other people's sanctity of being to the point where, no, you can't come back from it. Now, is that true for everybody who is forgiven in Harry Potter? Because we have a fair few sort of redemption arcs. We see Snape, more or less, basically, again, having Revolver Ocelotted his way through life, ultimately coming out on the side of the good guys, and at Harry's word, forgive him unilaterally, it seems. On the other hand, well, you have Percy, who, on the face of things, didn't actually seem to do much. Like, he distanced himself from the family because he was looking out for his career, but he never actively allied himself with Voldemort, just, denied the takeover because he didn't want it to be real. Right. And we don't actually see much from him at all in the 6th book that I recall. So I think he's basically just keeping his head down so he doesn't get targeted. And then in the 7th book, at the Battle of Hogwarts, he shows up and fights beside his family, who are very surprised to see him and take it back. I think Percy is in a little bit better of a situation than, say, Snape, because...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He very clearly put himself in a position to ally with the Ministry of Magic against Dumbledore, but to be fair, Dumbledore's kind of sketch.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think that there are many situations where people just give people a blank check for forgiveness or expect one on the basis of, but we're family. And Percy's very lucky that he didn't actually cross that line with regards to the Weasleys. Because if things had gotten much worse with his position in the Ministry, they would have been well within their bounds to, not associate with him.
Yeah.
Many people.
Hey, it's Galuf. Long time no see. We're being saved by a bunch of rocket ghosts.
Woo!
Kind of fitting for Harry Potter, really.
Yep. But yeah, just from what we saw that the Ministry was getting up to, they might not have moved to full scale, let's gun them down on the streets, like Voldemort probably was going to eventually, but they were well on the way to that. And Though there were a few exceptions, like Catamol, for example, very much trying to keep his head down and stay out of trouble. We saw plenty of people in there just leaning right on into the abuse of power running rampant under the Death Eater's control. We don't know what Percy was doing. We know that Mr. Weasley was also at the Ministry at this point, but he was also basically on their sedition list. So, just having a position of relative power in an organization like this does not necessarily guarantee an ideological match. But if you are very publicly seen endorsing this for your own sake, then people start to doubt a lot more. And to his credit, I do not recall seeing Percy vocally endorsing them after Voldemort was revealed to be back and Fudge was basically caught up in having completely misread a situation. So we don't really know. So does Snape deserve forgiveness, though?
So, this is a difficult way to answer it, because Snape has done different things that, in my opinion, have different reasons, or different values of should or should not be considered for some kind of redemption. On the one hand, Snape has abused the daylights out of his position as a teacher, and out of his role as an authority figure. And while that is bad in a lot of ways, and definitely not a respectable position, there it is. I don't think that thing alone is unforgivable. That's a bad thing, but something that could be, in theory, redeemed. Or forgiven, rather. You were a bad teacher is not, like, that's not the kind of thing that you should be, blasted for all eternity. On the other hand, he was also a creepy stalker who obsessed over his high school crush and went out of his way to make a child miserable because he happened to have a resemblance to his father, who Snape did not get along with in high school. Oh, wow, that worked.
Yep. And, I'm sure we could go through the litany of this with basically every other controversial character, but we'd be here all day.
Right, and
Those are the main ones that seem to come up for me. Shall we resume next time?
yep, I think that's a good place to call it for this one. And we'll wrap it up next time as we finish off X-Death, completing the story of Final Fantasy V and the story of Harry Potter at long last. See y'all then.